Hey, top of the morning to you. I'm Michael, or as the grandkids call me, Roo. Thanks for being on the show. It's Monday morning, December the 6th. I just checked the calendar. I'm a little bit out of breath because as I sit down here, I got the show rolling. And sometimes people wonder this. See, I just interrupt myself. They say, wonder why he rolls that same piece. Well, I haven't painted a new piece to roll. The other thing is he gives me another minute and a half to get, or 45 seconds to get back in the door. I was sitting here, I sit down, laid out my pens, found everything. I went, I want to tell a story that's probably not a new story, but I want you to know it with an illustration. And I realized there's a painting downstairs that I needed to take a picture of. So I ran downstairs, shot the photo, came back up, imported it into my, and I think it'll work. I just flopped it over here on the computer, so we'll see if it'll work. So good morning to you. Thanks for being on the show. Like I said, now back to the beginning. Rewind the tape. It's December the 6th. It's that many more days close to Christmas, and I hope you're doing well. Going to do a big old Roo head today. Going to do a Christmas painting. And those of you who are on the show Saturday, thank you so much for your input and your blessings that you bestowed upon my friend Phoebe Lee from Yasatoma. Yasatoma supplies the brushes for Cheap Joe's art stuff, the Yasatoma brushes, and they carry their own line of paints and brushes, which you got to know I always love and always have a ton of them sitting by somewhere. But my point is this. Those art companies talk to one another and help each other. And so she was going to be very timid at saying, hey, come to our site. And I said, you don't have to do that, you know. I love you both. Cheap Joe's Art Stuff helps me out tremendously, and I just like working with them because they're family. But Yasatoma has been a fun place to find painting supplies that I don't normally find other places, and so it just happened that they were connected. I did not know that in the beginning at all, just as fate would have it, if you believe in that. Faith, yes, fate, I don't know. But my point is this. Thanks for being on the show, and thanks for showing her such great grace. And some of you some of you have bamboo brushes. Some of you love the black ink. Some of you love that Asian style. And I actually picked up a piece of rice paper just to take that a little farther with you today. I didn't want to represent, yeah, that's the word. Not a misrepresentation is where I headed with that longer thought of the whole rice paper thing. Just like there's lots of cold press, hot press, and you were asking that, rice paper has its own medium and thickness and hardness and fibrous. And the ones I picked up has tons of fiber. So I went way over here. I'm going to show you some of that this morning. And thanks for being on. Let me say hello to some of you, and or as many as I can get to in just a minute or two here. So Gene Anthalzer, thanks for jumping on the show first thing. I have to look over here. Look at this. It's today at 5:15. I show up today at a salon, and they said, what? We're going to cut your hair? And I said, why not? So we're going to go in, and I'm going to go in. That's not we. I don't have a rat in my pocket. Or a baby squirrel that needs a haircut. I'm going to go get a haircut today. It's just a little bit too much down here that, you think you might need that at wintertime, but it's going to be 72 degrees today here in Charlotte. Right now it's cold. I have on a scarf. So Laurie Stanley Handelmeyer Henderson, thank you so much for being on the show. Donna Sil Barton, John Robert Small, Brush Warriors, he calls you. Yeah, you are. You get out there, it's like weekend warriors who play golf. I hope you're coming to the point where you're wielding that brush in a particular, powerful way that tells a story. So we'll talk about that more. Susie DeLay, thank you for being on the show. Trish Brown Burke. Thanks for being with me from Greenville. Burke and his wife, I met when we were at the pop-up show for my daughter down in Greenville. He saw the post and said, hey, we're just a few miles from here. Let's drive over. So they wheeled in, and I had gone to get a cup of coffee and a pastry. Yes, I live on that block. And I had some tea bags with me, but I went, I'm outside. It's cold. I wanted some coffee. And I came back, and there he stood. So good morning, Chris Whitaker. Thank you. Patricia Shane Evans, Fern Skelly, Pat Brooks. Hey, Pat, got you on my brain this morning. Believe it or not, here's why. Take a look. Got a little story I'm going to roll right out of this for some people that I thought, maybe you have this book, maybe you don't. I recommend that you have it. That's a sales pitch, isn't it? But I want to share what's behind the story in one of these a little deeper. And that's why I ran downstairs and got a photo I want to show you. So we'll talk about that a little bit. those of you who are maybe first time or have been under some watercolor paper somewhere, Pat, of course, illustrated this book for me just based on what I said in a one-line sentence and said, hey, Pat, I think it sounds something like this. Here's what I believe about it, but run with it. Just keep it open and loose, but do it in your style and have fun with it. And I'm just so pleased. Neither of us are going to be buying a yacht with this, more like a little clothespin rubber band paddle boat. But you know what? The point is we're getting it out to you. So that's kind of fun. You can get it on Amazon.com. I have, I think, one copy left on my desk. I just gave away a couple. And this one, I promised to Phoebe. Yasutoma needs this book, so it's going to them. But you can get it at Amazon.com, and I will get some maybe through Christmas just to have. I usually have a dozen here on the desk that I buy and get to ship out from here, so that's kind of fun. Dolores Bolin, thanks for being on the show. June Jones, Catherine Brousseau, Deborah Lynn Tauber, Gracie, thank you for being on the show. Jack Wolfenbarger, always great to hear see my friend's name, Jack, pop up. Man, we go way back. Some of you know from Knoxville, Tennessee, back in the good old days. He had a big old barn that we used to spend a lot of time up in the top of that barn contemplating life and throwing stuff from the hayloft. Jennifer Thistle, thanks for being here. Thistle, thank you for sending me the correct pronunciation of your name, and I'm still probably butchering it. Irma, thanks for being on the show. Irma says, I haven't been on the show lately, and yes, you were missed. I picked up something by you the other day, and someone said, where did that little container come from? And I said, Irma is a gift giver, and she sent that to me a long time ago. She says lies happen. She says life happens, but I realize you left out the F there. I'm just making fun of you a little bit. Yeah, lies happen too. Trying to move into retiring. Woo-hoo-hoo. Okay. Well, good luck on that, and paint more. Jeanette Seal, Mickey Hupp, Baba from the Unflappable Cornfields of Iowa. It's all that together. Heinrich from the Unflappable Cornfields of Iowa. Man, just the way you write that and say it, it sounds German to me. I love it. Thanks for being on the show, my friend. Karen Smith, Pat Thompson. All right, so Julie Walden, glad you're on the show. Tiffany Lyons, Perry Hill, good morning, June. Well, Perry said good morning to June, so June, good morning to Perry. I love the fact, and can I just say this? I guess I can, it's my show. I thought this was funny. It made me laugh. It made me laugh a lot, actually. Phoebe, I had a few minutes with her on the phone after we went off the air, and she said, oh my goodness, your community. And I'm going like, well, they're not my community. They're just kind of their own community. I said, they are a powerful group. And she said, they are connected better than any social media group I've seen anywhere. They're having these conversations. They're helping each other. They're sharing things. This is what the art community could do. So bravo to you all. You just blew her in the weeds. And I love that you didn't do anything but do who you are, because you've just kind of come along and said, this is about art, but it's not about art. It's about helping people be better and shine brighter in this life. And you're doing that in an amazing way. And you're doing it with your art. And you're doing it with fun. You're doing it with sentimental art. You're doing it with scenery. You're doing it with faces and animals and pets and cartoon characters. You're doing it with flora and fauna and all those other Dave Attenborough narrated things on the Nature Channel. All right, so I'll get off my box and start painting here this morning. So here we go. Lynn Clark Blur, thanks for being on the show. Linda Linhart, Nancy Catlett, Nancy and Steve are painting. I'm even seeing paintings pop up. So here we go. Thank you, Patricia. I love your intro. I like to see it and hear that music with each show. Well, I do that for two other reasons, too, other than just give me time to scramble. It lets me pour another cup of tea, and you, I hope, tea or coffee, and it lets you just settle in and say, okay, put everything else on hold for a minute. I need at least 20 minutes or maybe even the whole show to just kind of concentrate here a little bit and think like an artist for a while. So we're going to continue to do this right on up to Christmas. I'm still busy right now in the first 2 weeks of December with some video projects. Got to finish here today. One of the reasons I'm getting a haircut is video shoots the next 4 days coming up. And I thought I needed to clean up my act just a little bit for a company that I'm doing some video shots for. I'm writing the scripts and I'm the talent. I'm not shooting and editing these. So that's a little different for me. So I'm coming in and lending my storytelling to them in a way. That should be fun. All right. More on that later. Thought you'd get busy, get your Christmas. Oh, okay. So here we go. Good morning, peeps. Bonnie Frink, thanks for being on the show in Hertford, New York, or North Carolina. Yeah, I think I just sent you something. Bonnie, you want some brushes. I think I sent your name out. Or painting. Okay, Laurie Smith, thanks for being on the show. Andy. All right. Get some repeats coming up, so I'm going to jump ahead here. Virginia Mann, Pat Lightbody, Brenda Young, and let's move ahead. And Miss Carla's on the show. All right. So, noodle doodle fiddle piddle. Let me paint something, and I'm gonna come back to this book. This is a dirty piece of paper. This is clean. Ta-da! If you see anything on there, oh, that's just on my computer screen. There's paint splatters. I can't tell sometimes if the paint is on the paper. If I look at my screen, I can't tell if it's on the paper or on my computer. And I try to clean it with alcohol, but you have to be careful on these screens. So this is a dirty piece of paper. Look, it was laying here the other day when a young man was over here. And he was painting some. I got to get rid of this scarf now. I'm warming up. And he was painting some. And he said, "Oh, I don't want to get this paint on your desk." And I go, "Yeah, that's a brand new desk. It's about 200 years old. So let's don't get paint on it. But let's put down some paper." Oh, come on! I'm tied up in my coat here, or my vest. I've used that line, by the power in my vest, I pronounce you man and wife. And they go, "Wait, I think that was the power invested in you." And I go, "No, it's the vest. The power of my vest." So I'm going to paint on this dirty piece of paper. Can you see it's got some green? It's got a couple of lines there. There's actually a word here. I don't know why I would have written the word when, but maybe when. It looks like it's when. There's an M. Doodle probably on the phone, but I can see some green. He was painting some green the other day, so he painted around here. I'm just going to take a pen here, if I can find one that I like. You know what? I'm going to use a Lamy. I'm going to use a Lamy pen, just a big old fountain pen, and I'm going to go and I'm going to sketch a big old roo head right here. Just like here. Come in here like this, and maybe just out here with that. There's that. See that going in? Maybe get some lines in here because I want a little separation there. The wattle sometimes on a roo it has a lot of creases and wrinkles in it, and so that's why this line's coming in here. Let's see here. Let's go in here. That's a short song, wasn't it? I love it when that happens. I just thought I'd use a dirty piece of paper. And why? Well, look at that. The wind's going to go away. You won't even know it was ever there because I just squiggled on it. I'll roll it out here like this. I like this big roo head on my desk. And my friend Ben, who was here the other day, said, I like the way you did that eye. How did you do that? And I go, I don't know. I just, it's a little different eye than I painted before. And he said, you left that. And I said, holiday. Thank you for recognizing that. There's one right there that I just did with pen. And it's still got some squiggles in it, but I'll change that out. I'll put some eyelashes there, but I'll put some more in later. We'll come up in here like this. I just needed a big rooster head for something, and so I thought I'd just do one on the show this morning just to give you an idea. And then I'm gonna do this on a piece of rice paper for you and just show you the difference. So there is a madness to my method and a method to my madness here this morning. So, all right. So let's see here. Kind of Christmassy. And big old red rooster here at Christmas ought to be perfect. What was funny about this is that my friend had this piece of paper out and I had a piece out, and he said, yeah, and he was a musician, so we talked about music a little bit. He said, oh, so you did some music? I said, yeah, in my days past, I traveled around thinking that I was a singer, songwriter, storyteller, just like I think that I'm an artist now. Fooled some people, traveled, was blessed by traveling and speaking and singing. He said, well, I was, and I said, he said, you travel with a band? I said, no, because I'd had to pay the band. And I didn't make any money anyway. So if I just travel by myself and I just fill in all the stuff, then they get to pay me. He goes, I said, it wasn't a fact of being selfish. It was the fact of earning a living and living on some of what that we did, you know. And so I just couldn't go out and have a band of 6 people. And he said, well, we had a band, and yep, we didn't make any money. What was the name of your band? I said, the band, and he said, you're not going to believe this, but it's true. Big Metal Rooster. And so I just laughed. So before he left, I painted him a big old rooster as he was painting some and learning some watercolor technique. And he sent me a text the next morning and said, I went back, and this has been 25 years, and I went back and I sent 25 years since he had been in the band, and he sent a text out to all these guys they keep up, and he sent them a photo and said, look, this could have been our logo, Big Metal Rooster. I said, what? All right. So I know the band's not going to get back together, but it was a great laugh for all the guys in the band. There's a big rooster head, and he's on, what is this, 11 by, that's more than that, it's 12 by 18 maybe. Yeah, probably 12 by 18 paper. So that's a big rooster head. And I'm just going to paint this, and why I'm going to paint this real quickly is, Pat Lightbody, yeah, I sent you a note. Send me an email, please, Pat at roodoodles@gmail.com. I sent you a response back. I have the flocked Christmas tree here. So it's downstairs. I took it down to the art bar. So you asked me to paint you one, and I did. Is that right? Still wanting the flocked tree? How do I reach you? Yeah, I'm patient too. So thank you, Lisa, for seeing a little light in that eye. I'm going to put a little dark in there, and I'm going to show you about this rice paper in a minute too. But first I'm going to paint this and put it aside so I can show you what it's like to compare this to a piece of rice paper, and then we'll talk a little bit about rice paper. So have a sip. I'm going to put on some more music, and let's go. Here we go. One of my favorite painters was Charles Reed. I never met the man. He left this planet several years ago, but I read a couple of his books, or I have some of his painting books, and I just loved his style. I'll never be that good. I strive to be as loose as he and as detailed at the same time. And so you're talking about a juxtaposition dichotomy. There is one right there in art. How he just threw paint and splattered his brushes around and used big brushes and just had fun. It looked like he's an old guy. He painted on a canvas that kind of set up a little bit like this, and I'm going to change this one right now. So don't go away. I've got an idea for you coming in. So I got this, remember I carry several pieces of this, this is spruce, actually this is not, this is beech plywood. It's just, it's Luan basically. It's a little thicker than Luan, it's beech. And so I'm just taking, what I'm gonna do right now is I'm just gonna take a clothespin, and I'm just gonna, a CP right there. And I put it up on that a little bit, and then I'm gonna go for something else here. I'm gonna go for a roll of tape. And if I had a brick, that'd be perfect. Wouldn't that just be fantastic if I had a brick? If only had a brick. Ooh, there's a rock. There's a rock from Maine. That'll work. Okay, so there's a rock from Maine. Is that a cool rock or what? Look at this rock I picked up on the seacoast of Maine. It looks like it's been sawed, huh? Isn't that great? All right, I'm going to put that right there, and then I'm going to put the... Oh, that's perfect. Look at that. Now we're rocking out. Did you get it? All right, so I think you can see just about all of that right there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And you never really see me paint with my paintings on a little bit of an incline, but sometimes you do. Charles Reed did that sometimes, and I thought it was kind of fun. I'm holding a 1/2 inch round brush. I'm going to go, I think, with a flatter brush. Here's one right here. Here's a 1/2 inch flat brush. Here's a number 10 watercolor brush. All these are nylon, and here's a 7, 10 and a half inch. There we go. And I think I'm going to use these 3 brushes to paint this. I haven't tried it before. The thing about live painting shows is you just do it and you hope it flies. So here we go. I'm going to spray these colors just a little. I'm just going to spray them over the artwork here. Some goes into the artwork. That's okay. This is just a mister, not a Mrs. I'm sorry. That was pretty bad, wasn't it? All right, I just wake my paint up there a little bit. Oh man, I did mess up. I didn't realize I was spraying that whole thing. See, I just did mess up right then. I was spraying the wrong direction. I didn't even see it. I am so sorry. Well, I may have just ruined this whole painting after setting this up. I told you it was live. Here we go. Look at that. Just sprayed it. But we'll just let it happen. It's gonna look more like rice paper than I thought. Okay, so here we go. Just get a little bit of this in here. Really getting a lot of red up in here. And I'm just being loose and letting this roll in. Just I just want it to take off. All right, so I'm kind of having fun with how this is happening here. Look what's happening. Can you see with that little bit of an angle? Can you see this paint starting to run downhill a little bit? Just because the amount of water that I'm using in here. There goes some right here. Watch this. It's coming down. It's rolling into here. It's going to catch up and probably break off the back right here and roll down just a little. Does that bother me? No, that's kind of what I want. I wanted this big, loose, wet roux that just had some paint splatters on it. Got on my nice, clean white shirt today. It's not new, but it's clean and white. Wash this one. I'm liking that already. I'm liking how that piles up. If I want to take some of that out, I could just tip my board back up this way and push some of that back uphill. But I love the fact, here's what I love. I love the fact that Lamy pen, the ink in the pen is bleeding with all the water I put on there, way too much, but it's collecting down here and it's causing some dark shadows down and around the bottom here that I couldn't brush to. I couldn't mix to. They just happened. And that's the great thing about when you just let watercolor be watercolor. And people who practice this over and over and over, they're going like, I don't know how, and I don't know either. Every painting is different. I just said I don't know either. I just know that you've got to work on your combination of how much water, how much pigment, and then play a little bit and back off. And then you'll say, wow, there's so much work into this. And I go, not really. I've been painting this for 8 minutes. I've been talking the rest of the time, and we'll get there, okay? He's using a big brush. He is, as they say, third person. You'll say to yourself, well, I don't get it. It's a different brush than I use. Hey, you just have fun with it, okay? So I want some of this orange to come into the beak right there, so I'm pushing that back up. Look at that. I left a holiday there, and that's a piece of brown or green from the dirty paper that was already here. Remember? I had this dirty paper that I started with. Maybe that's the trick. Maybe I just need to get my paper a little dirtier in the process. Okay, I'm going to put a little more yellow up in here, just a tad, but I want some white to show through, so I'm not going to touch that too much. And I want a little rusty red in there. Now I'm just having fun. I want some blue to start in this rooster pretty fast. I want a blue streak to just come down through there like that, like a blue streak. And I'm going to let this blue do exactly what it's supposed to do right there. Did I know that was going to happen? Well, yeah, because I've done this before. But I left water here, and when I use that much paint in my brush, the water is now just finding its way to branch out, make those little tributaries. I feel like an oil painter holding brushes in my hand. I normally don't do that. Have I used this one yet? Yeah, I have. Okay. All right. We'll push that red back up just a little bit. In a minute, I'm just going to let a piece of it just run down there. Cleaning out my brush by just shaking it over here on the painting. Sunel Stoffberg. Is it Sunel? Whoa, Lauren. Lauren Softberg. Man, I love that name. I haven't seen you on the show, but thanks for being on here. Heather Kuhlman, you're below that name. I just finished your painting. I'll send you a photograph today. I've been working on a painting for Heather for quite a while, and it is finished. It was something that we did in an auction a long time ago, and I said I'll get to it. And I had a sketch, and I hadn't been able to. My plan was to knock it out this weekend. I have accomplished that, so that was one thing about this weekend. So, Sunil, thanks for being on the show. I think Pat just said hello to you there. I see that. I'm an early bird. Valerie says, I like the blue streak. Going to rewatch later. Before you know it, Rue will be selling them as a new design for men's shirts, the blue streak. Now, you know why I don't do I said I was probably going to do a t-shirt in the next year. I thought maybe I'd do tea towels by Christmas, but I can't pull that off right now. I can't find the printer that I want. Everybody wants to print a tea towel for me, and they want it to be 8x10. And I'm going like, no, I'm not doing that. If it's going to be digital to garment, DTG, I want the whole thing. So I'm going to have to go probably to a screen print with flour sacks. And so it's going to take me a while to lay it out the way I want to lay it out. So just so you know, on products, and I'll mention that a little bit. I love products, not just to sell products for selling products' sake. I want products that are fun. I want a tea towel because I love tea, and I love tea towels to just clean up my mess in the kitchen. I've never wanted a t-shirt, except that I think it'd be fun to have a shirt with a roost bladder on it and something, but it costs a lot to lay out that initial. And so I'm still working on suppliers on that. I love my cups because they have a purpose. I love the books because they have a purpose with kids and teaching. And so I'm still working on those things. But that's why I don't just up and do it tomorrow, because every time you say, oh, you should have this, even the bags that I do, the bug out bags, you have to lay out a lot of cash in the beginning. And that's a world that maybe my world will change someday in art, but it hasn't yet. So that's kind of why some of that is slow in the process. And that's why products sort of drag sometimes when you think, hey, I wish you'd just do this. All of us or everyone would want one. And I know that everyone is a hyperbole, right? Everyone doesn't really mean everyone. I figured that out a long time ago when my staff used to come in and complain about how I managed. They'd come in and someone would say, everyone thought this was a mistake. And so I'd go, everyone? Everyone thought this was a mistake? Yes. And I said, everyone. Everyone. I mean, how far are we talking here? Are we talking just in this room, outside this room, everybody on staff? We talking the community? What are we talking about? And they would go, oh, come on. I'm going like, no, I'm just trying to figure out if everyone is talking about it. Who are these people? And so then they would get frustrated at me even more so. But my point is, there's a rule there, and it's why I wrote, hey, Rue, what's a wheelbarrow? But, you shouldn't ever roll others' complaints into a room in a wheelbarrow. Only roll in what you have, your own complaints. And so that's one of my standards, is that don't roll anybody else's stuff into the room except your stuff. The reason is, man, I like this head. It's coming along. Look at that, huh? Is that fun? Big old Rue head. The other thing I was going to tell you about is that one of the products that I'm working on right now is I'm working on a kitchen apron, because I like to cook biscuits. I like to cook steak. I like to cook things that are messy, and I cook in cast iron, and I'm splattering, and I'm doing everything. It's very much like my watercolor painting. My point is this. I want a good cotton apron. And so the ones that I'm finding are very expensive. So I might do a limited run, but it's going to have maybe 2 aprons. One's going to have a big old rooster on it, and maybe one of my tea towels is going to have a lobster coming up on it. And I'm working on that. So aprons and tea towels and maybe a t-shirt someday in the future are some of the things that are out there that I'm working on. And I'll put those just in an Etsy shop or a Shopify shop and let them just sit out there and have some fun with them if they ever take off. And if they don't, I'll have some fun with them anyway, because it'll be a limited run, and we'll do some stuff like that. The other thing is, so that apron is, and then I think I'm going to do a painter's apron. And I think I'm going to do a black apron with just a Rue head on it, like my bag, and maybe a big splatter of some cool color next to it. And that's going to be an apron that you can just put on if you want to sit out like this and say, not ruin your shirt. See, that's a new spot. I didn't have that one when I started here. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm going with that whole thing and how that works. I want this beak to be a little more orange, so I'm just dropping some orange in there on the bottom. Why would I do that? Because I like the shadow. I just like the way that shadow's in. And I think I'm about done here, but I think I want a few more little feathers in here. I haven't put any Terry Tardy turquoise in, and I'm just going to roll some of that right in here underneath this just to let it sort of run down a little bit. Now I'm just going to pull this up and just add a little bit of water and just let it run off the page, I think. So here we go. Just going to let it run down like this and let it break. There it goes. Now I'm going to have to stop that right there. Okay. So let's see what we got here. Hold on one second. All right, so now I'm going to doctor up his eye a little bit. So I'm going to clean out this brush. I've been painting this whole thing with a number 10 American Journey interlock nylon, not expensive hair. Sometimes if you heard Phoebe say, and even Karen, who is one of their research people and their artist, says, the thing about hair brushes and even the hair that's in these brushes, they hold more water than synthetic, okay? Real hair holds more water. Synthetic will dry quicker because it disperses the water faster. But the way I paint and my style, some of you probably don't need more water. This nylon fiber will probably be just fine for you. If you want something that holds tons of water and a little more pigment, then you'd go to a higher end hairbrush. You can get some serious money into brushes if you want to go that route. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna work on this eye just a little bit. I think you can see that right there. I'm gonna pull it back down here. I'm trying to not let it run off on my shirt, so I'm keeping a paper towel down here. But let me go in here and just get a little bit of this black. I want to come in and clean up this eye just a smidge right here. Look at this. And then I love the fact that some roos have a touch of red around the eye right here. Kind of some epic music coming in here to finish this up with, huh? And then a little bit of yellow right in around the eye too. I like that. That's cool. Ooh, that's a good looking eye, even if I did paint it myself. He's so humble. He's a nutcase is what he is. And just a touch of what? What did he put up there? Purple. Yeah, I wanted some purple up in there because sometimes that red mixed with black just creates a little bit of purple that, man, I love some of this violet. Okay, so I'm going to just drop a little spot of this right here too. And then I'm going to bring my pen back. Don't see do I have a, let me see. Do I have an 07 Pentel up here on the deck anywhere? Wow, what do I have up here? I have an open pocket knife. Let me put it close to that, so to speak, so I don't hurt myself there in a minute. One thing about my pocket knives, they're sharp. All right. Talk amongst yourselves for 1 second. I got to walk over here and get a pen. That shouldn't be hard with you guys. Oh my gosh. What a crew you are. Okay, that didn't take long, did it? This is a Pentel Intergel needlepoint pen right there. Pentel needlepoint. I'm going to come in right here and I'm going to clean this eye up a little bit with this pen. And then I'm going to put some eyelashes in with this. Just some cool little eyelashes. Why am I using this pen? Why am I just scribbling on this piece of paper with it? Because I started out with a dirty piece of paper in the first place, remember? And I like a little bit of some eyelashes in here. And then I like just some cutouts and shading up here on this too. So this is where you can come back on when it's almost dry. This, by the way, is a piece of Canson 140-pound paper. I use it for a little bit of everything. Cut it into smaller pieces. In this case, there was a piece that was lying here that was, if you just tuned in, I used, some of this was already splattered on the paper, and I just enhanced it in the splatter. I'm going to come in here and put in the nostril, in the rostrum, in the nose there. Look at that little eye, man. That is a cool looking eye. He looks kind of mean, actually. I was hoping he was going to be a friendly rooster, but I think I painted him with a mean eyeball. Yeah, that's too mean if I put a spot in there. Whoa, he's not happy at all right now. I got to hide that little spot I put in there. That's scary. No, I just messed it up, I think. I may have messed up the eye. The eyes have it, so to speak. Yeah, he's not a happy rooster. All right, I'll come back in when that's dry and put a little bit of... Yeah, I think the music turned ominous, and then that's what happened. I started making a mean rooster. All right. Yeah, and so Catherine Moore says, hey, her Polina Bright brushes are amazing. But I agree. I have also company, a great company that's been in touch with me, F&M. They sent me a note and said, hey, we love what you do, love your community, love to send you some brushes. And they did. They sent me some beautiful, beautiful brushes. And I've used a couple of them in a painting. I like them. It's just that you sort of go back to the tools that you're used to. So here's the thing. Don't buy the brushes that I say just because I'm telling you that I sell brushes. I don't, nor do I get a kickback from anybody who buys brushes. My point is these are just quick. They're easy to clean for me because they're nylon, and that's it. Okay, so there gives you an idea of the big old roux head that I think is finished. I'll sign it in a minute, and I'll give him a caption, and I'll clean that eye up just a little bit. But it's kind of a fun-looking roux. I like it. And he's quite large. Take a look at that. Boom. 18 by 12, I believe, is the size on this. Now, I'm going to do a similar thing on a piece of rice paper, or I'm going to attempt it just to show you this piece of rice paper this morning. So that was kind of the whole setup here today. But before I do that, I'm going to let this dry just a little more, and I want to tell you just a quick story about Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle and show you a photograph, because that'll be kind of fun. So here we go. Let me move that piece of paper over there. Sometimes I know, and I hope you don't think this is prideful or braggadocious, but sometimes you say things and you go back and say, if I said that again today, what would I really mean? Or what was I thinking? Or is that something that you want to let other people know about? And so when I picked out the statements out of the 130 or 150 things that I said in the first 100 days of Roodoodles together, Pat was keeping up with them and tracking them, and I had no idea she was a project manager at the time, and so I had been, and just has this amazing ability to stay organized. And as an artist, that's a rare world to live in. Look around if you can see a helicopter view here. So my point is, I said these things because I wanted to encourage you for lots of reasons. One, to think like an artist, to be creative, to start somewhere. Start somewhere. Start somewhere. In fact, one of the first ones in here is all about starting. Start small and simple. And it's a story about a lady I met in the art store who was carrying a canvas much bigger than she was. And she says, can I ask you a question? Are you an artist? And I went, it's the hair, isn't it? And she said, no. I said, it's okay. You know, I mean, I'm 6'5", I got a blockhead and a square chin, and I'm walking to an art store, and she goes, yeah, I want to paint. And she said, are you an artist? And I said, I think like an artist, which is the repeat line through this whole book. I think like an artist. What can I help you with? And this 3 by 5 foot canvas she had in her hand. I said, it looks like you're the artist. So I said, what are you going to do here? So this is the story. Do you love oil? Do you love water? Color? She said, I don't know. And I said, well. So anyway, I talk her into finally buying the canvas, taking it home and putting it on her wall, but buying a pad of paper and some smaller paints and going home and starting small and quick and simple for a while. In fact, maybe months, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. And then one day keep looking up at that big painting and go, I'm coming after you. And so that was my story. And there are all these stories in here that mean something to me. And I had another one that I just marked for you this morning, and now I've lost it. Where did it go? I had it marked, and then I took that out and started on another one. If you're in your studio, don't take yourself too serious. So I'm getting ready to paint on a piece of rice paper the last few minutes of the show. And if you think you're going to take yourself serious painting on rice paper, unless you're a trained calligraphist and you know all the ramifications of the different rice papers, you're going to go, what the heck? You're going to find yourself throwing away a lot of paper, which the good news is 60 feet of rice paper doesn't cost a whole lot of money. But when you're in your studio, don't take yourself so seriously. And Pat, of course, in her little drawing here, has drawn me with the long hair, looking in the mirror going like, uh-oh, he just embarrassed himself on, and you go like, no, I didn't. I'm learning as you learn. And so The story here is that we constantly go in and we talk to people about their art. And we were at an art gallery this week, and most everybody in there I saw was having a great time. They were loving it. They had snacks, and some had wine and some had cheese, and they were talking about their different art and what they do. And they want to meet people. They want community. They want what I have on this show. They have a group of people who say, hey, I'll try that. Thank you for the encouragement. Lou, look what I did. They want that. Most of them smile. There was a couple folks that were going like, what are these people doing here? I'm trying to paint. And you're going like, you're missing something here. You're taking yourself way too serious. There's always the person who has the perfect smock and the tam and the hat and all the brushes lined up exactly right. And you think, wow, it's just like me rolling out my toolbox onto one of the NASCAR race floors, but knowing that I don't know anything about how to build a high-performance engine. I can put a small lawnmower motor back together, and I've rebuilt a car engine, but not like that. So there are people who take themselves so serious that they miss the creativity and they miss the connection. So we have a couple pieces of art in our home that I wanted to show you, and that's why I ran downstairs to get that, because when you're in your own studio, realize that this is a process. You will always be learning. If you think you get to the point where you don't need to learn anymore, and if you think you get to the point where you know everything about brushes and colors and styles and pencils and all those things, and if you think you get to a point where you can do this without making a mistake, you sort of missed what this was all about in the first place. This is about going somewhere on a journey together. That's why this journaling thing takes me to a place that levels the ground. It's like I've never painted a lighthouse, but I think I'm going to paint 7 of them in Maine. I never painted a lobster before last June. And then I started talking about them and thinking, I gotta start looking at some. I gotta go have lobster and eat it. I gotta find one in Harris Teeter and just sort of get down in front of the glass and look at it. And I gotta buy a book about lobsters, and I have to look at lobster painters online and see what they're doing and what colors I need. And so when I get to Maine, I want to paint them like crazy because that's their world, especially when you're into the big ports that I went into. You know, they live on tourism, but at the same time, they're gorgeous for us who've never seen it. And Acadia National Forest, that painting that journal is it's not a fine art process. It is a plein air, outside painting journey of telling your story in your own style. And so that's why I'm sort of talking about that. And come February, maybe January, we're going to do some serious planning on it. February, we'll start rolling out. If those of you who want to go to Maine with us, and we'll probably do several things. What does it cost? Where are you thinking about staying? Could we stay here? Could we stay? All the options. We'll try to nail down all that and just say, this is what we're doing. Small trip. Maybe 5 days and 25 people, 20 people, something like that. Okay, so this story is about this piece of art right here. I want to show you a piece of art. Can I do that? Here it comes up on the screen right now. Boom, 2 pieces of art. The first one is hanging over. Let me get my big old head out of the way. Let me just see if I can do away with that for a second. No, you can see it. Yeah, you can still see the whole painting. This is sitting above the bar. In fact, there's a piece of Tom's art right there. The Vitruvian lobster is sitting down in next to that rooster. There's a hen sitting up on the top. She's a plaster cast sculpture that some friends gave me from Gordon Conwell Seminary. So here's this is the painting. If you can see it, there it is right there in the top. Can you see that? Okay, so this is almost 4 by 4 feet sitting up there. And my friend paints spiritual light in a V. You see it coming in. And if you look real close in the middle of this V, right in the middle of it, just literally draw a line across. There's this almost a little eye down below that darkest part. Right under that, there's a little round curved shadow. And if you follow it close enough, you'll realize it's a needle. A needle, like a sewing needle, but it's a giant needle. And if you realize over on the sides, there's 2 blue looking doors. They look like shutters with stars in them almost. That's represents a veil in this painting. She does biblical narrative. This painting, I saw it the first time hanging in a studio in Asheville. Grace Carol Bomer painted this, and she's a dear friend of ours. I saw it the second time when we went up to stay in a cabin. And Carol said, "Oh my goodness, I need to show you something downstairs." And I started down the stairs, and at the bottom of the stairway, this painting was hung under a light. And I said, "Oh, it's that painting. Oh my gosh, I love it." And she said, "It's your painting. I bought it." And we take it home. And I went, yes. We were there to stay at this cabin for our anniversary. This was 10 or 12 years ago, maybe more. And I said, "But I want to know what this painting means." And she whips out a piece of paper like this and hands it to me, a folded 8.5 by 11. And I said, "What?" And she said, "This is Carol's notes, some of her notes. This is also the poem that a friend of hers wrote that brought this painting to meaning." And I thought, oh my goodness. She painted it in her own way. She didn't take herself too serious. She got out of her way and she just let it happen. And the painting is called "Through the Eye of the Needle, the Rich Man Came." And it's about Advent. It's about the coming of Christmas. And it's about stitching this Advent character that comes at Christmas into our lives. And it's a beautiful poem. And it's not an easy poem to read, but Carol had taken it and created that. And so that's why that means something to me. So when you look at something you find and you move into painting and you say, what's the book say? The book says, when you're in your studio, don't take yourself so serious. Lighten up and say, how could I paint that? How could I represent that? What could I do? And so here are all these abstract colors in real life. Up in the top, there's some actual gold leaf that's been put back in with the brush. I see this painting every day. Let me show you another painting. There it is right there. This hangs over our mantle. We ripped off some old tile, and we're not sure what we're going to do with the brick. When we ripped it off, we found this other alcove of brick unfinished behind it. It looked very French, and we just left it for now. I think it'll probably get a stone tile, not tile, but a stonework someday. But right now, this 4x4 painting hangs there. And written down in here some Hebrew, and written in here some other words. And this reminds me of the Appalachian Mountains, but it comes from another small poem called "He Comes in the Spring." And it's one of my favorite paintings. So I just want you to see a couple of those today, and how, Miss Carla, what this means to me is that means that we are created, and that the joy comes in the morning. And I mean that in morning, and I mean mourning, is that if we let go of hope in either of these paintings, you've missed the point of life. The reason I paint is because I find hope in the colors that I create, not just to sell them for selling them's sake, not just to say, hey, I made $20. No. I challenged a young man yesterday who was watching me take notes in church with this little Altoid box that I hold in my hand. And he said to me, you look like you were painting in church. And his mother and I are friends. And I said, yeah, it was. And I paint with this. And he goes, oh. And you know what? I think I'm going to find him an Altoid box, and I'm going to put him a little box together. And I'm going to get him a brush, a Niji water brush. And I'm going to say, nothing should hold you back from making notes wherever you are. And so that's the hope that you pass on to people. So there you go, Miss Carla. So there it is. All right, a little rice paper here. In 10 minutes, I got to go. So Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle has stories like that in there. Stop worrying. Take yourself so serious, like you're going to paint and post a piece of art that you'll either be condemned for, or dragged into the courtyard, locked in stockades and painted. But have a piece that connects you with people. Everybody's going to have opinions. Some are not going to like your art. You go, so? I didn't paint it for you. Some are going to love it. You go, I painted it for you. That's that connection that you need. But as you do this, I want you to know that your attitude is reflected from here to here to here to here and onto the paper. And that's not taking yourself so seriously that you get locked in and you go, oh, I hate where this is going. If you're doing that, go make a cup of tea and come back. You didn't hear me say that one time. Even when I made a mistake with this, I didn't go, oh no, I've ruined the whole thing. I went, I'll fix it later. Or I kind of like it. Or I may just leave it like it is. There's the painting. All right, let's see if we can do this again. Drop that down here. Now, this is rice paper, real quickly. Thanks for hearing me rattle on my stories. Look, those to me, and you sharing those with your friends and family and your grandkids and your own kids, those are as important as any painting you might ever do, is to say, don't worry about it. Hot press, cold press, some press, that press, other press. Good night. Work paper, scrap paper, 80 pound, 90 pound, 140 pound, 300 pound. You're going to find so many, hammer mill paper. You're going to find so much paper that you're not going to know what to do with it. I talk about 3 or 4 different types on this show. Hot press, 140 pound, cold press, 140 pound, 80 pound drawing paper, sometimes 132, marker paper that will take markers in other colors if you want to just throw some paint at it. I have not, since I started doing this, and I haven't had a piece in my hand in 12 to 15 years. And after talking with Phoebe about it, I jumped in my truck Saturday. And I drove up to Charlotte downtown, where Cheap Joe's art store is. Not to Boone. I didn't go that far. And they had some paper. They didn't have the washu paper that she talks about, but they had this paper that's called rice paper. There it is right there. It says rice paper on it. Look at this. This paper is not made from rice. It's made from extraordinary long fibers from the, ready for this? From the Kozo mulberry bush. The Kozo bush is a mulberry tree. And you go like, no way, all the way around the mulberry bush. We're making paper out of it so you can paint. They're very strong papers, but these fibers remind me of the iron that used to come into our country before 1960, when we used to get hand-forged iron, the iron that gates are made of in the old cities. It's very stringed. The fibers in it are long and it welds together easily. It welds together hard. It holds up well. It's not the greatest iron, but it's better for blacksmithing because you can almost sculpt it and tie it in a knot. Today you have to work harder. This paper is made like that. So this roll is 11 inches wide. I'm going to leave it rolled up in here so it won't unroll. It's by 60 feet long. Are you kidding me? It's 60 feet, okay? So line up 3 automobiles. And end to end, an automobile's 18 to 20 feet. You're going to figure out, oh my gosh, it'll probably cover 3¼ automobiles if you laid it out. So I've cut a piece off this morning, and I've taped it down to a piece of watercolor, or just regular watercolor paper like this. So I'm going to try and hold it up a little bit and let you see if you can see it. So take a look. You can almost see the fibers in it. I'll tell you what it looks like. It looks a little bit like fiberglass. It has these long, strenuous fibers in it that just go out. And guess what? All of those are going to show up in your painting. Every one of those are going to pop to the front. This is great for taking rice paper and painting something on it and then putting it on a frame with a little light behind it. Are you kidding me? Your silhouettes will show through. Yeah, that's a new thought, right? What if we turned it around and looked at it like this with a light behind it? Would that be magical? Okay, so, but I want you to know that when the rice paper that I used with Lin Zen was a much more slicker rice paper, and it didn't have these long fibers. But because I have this piece today, I wanted you to see the difference. If I sketch a quick rooster head on here, I'm going to do it a little smaller, and I'm going to do it in pen, but I'm just going to, and just to be different, I'm going to let it go this way. So there goes the beak. There it is. There's the big old comb, or the wattle. Here's the head that goes down like this. All right, so I'm just, of course my music when I sketch, I love to sketch with music. So I'm just putting a little bit here around this like that. Okay, so there's some more of that. I'm sketching with the pen tail. I don't think I want to add the fountain pen in here, and I think the reason being because this paper is going to take off like crazy. It's just going to, these little fibers are going to cause the paint to go in lots of different directions. What happened to my music? All right, got 5 minutes here, a little more. Let me just roll this in. I'm going to use a, let's see, use something in the middle. There's a 7, there's a 7. I have an 8 up here on the desk. What's this right here? There's an 8 right there, number 8. I think I don't want to pull as much water as I pulled on another one. So here we go. I'm going to just add a touch of water here. Whoa, and the water is just taking off. You can't even see where it's going, but I'm telling you. By the way, put paper under this if you have rice paper, and here's why. Because it's going to take off and go everywhere, okay? And you see it run? It's starting to take off. Now, I didn't wet it down here, but look, watch this. I'll just put some dark in here and just let it kind of come in like this. I might come back and throw a little more water in there. But wherever I drop it, it's going to stain and run like crazy just because it's chasing these little fibers. And so if you think you want to learn how to be loose, rice paper will make you loose. It's going to take off in a major way. So it's going to be different. And by the way, it goes through, so make sure you put something behind it. If you're painting it on your kitchen table, well, you're going to love what you painted on your kitchen table a little later. Okay. We'll drop a little blue in there to create some green. Watch this. Watch it just run in there and make a little green. Can you see that happen? That's kind of cool. Look at this. If I sprinkle that in there a little bit and drag it out, it's going to be kind of fun. So you don't have the flow. Even on cold press, you can push the paint a long way. On rice paper, I mean, it is like a vacuum. It just sucks everything down immediately. Can I go back and put some more on to get a little darker later? Oh, yeah. So if you like the translucent, layered look, you're going to love it. But I'm going to tell you, if you get too close to the line, it's gone. It'll go past. It won't. It will follow the fibers in the paper as much as it'll follow your water. Okay? So you got to be careful when you're messing with this paper. All right? So look at this. See, that would have been enough paint to paint this big piece of paper. But watch what it's doing when I put it on here. All right? See, the water doesn't even want to stay. It just takes off and runs everywhere. All right, but I want you to see it. It will also dry at a different hue, tone than the watercolor on your other paper. But I'm after something here. I'm going to show you something in just a second. I want to show you what happens when I get some of this down here, just in this light format. I'm just putting some out here so you can see it. Here we go. All right. This will be a good example right here. I want to get a light enough color. This purple right here, what you see in there are the actual fibers of the rice paper itself. You see those lines right there? That's a fiber in the rice paper. And so what you're seeing is, if you want a cool looking paper that's just got some great loose looks in it, if you're painting, say you're painting a wood scene, let's say you were doing this rooster, in the forest out here. Okay, that just came to me right then. And so I want to put this out here, and I want to do a tree. I could just get this tree going out here. My paint needs a little more water in it over here. So I could just come in here a little bit like this. And, I could actually add a little bit of pen or paint in here. Too much black. All right, but it'll give you an idea. Take a look at what's happening here. You'll see some of this I didn't paint. That curve, that's the fiber in the paper itself, grabbing the paint, grabbing the pigment, and running with it almost underneath the surface. It's just fascinating. So I don't want that all to be, I want that to be left with a little bit of color in it. And so let's get a little more of this green right here. Just go in right there. Put that there. Okay, so that gives you a little idea of how you can use rice paper. I'm just going to tell you, don't start with rice paper. If you're just thinking about beginning watercolor today, don't go there. I'll use this on very small pieces. This is way too big for what I even talk about painting. Start small and simple. But I'll take a small piece of rice paper and I'll just do a little something on it, even like a little bunch of grapes. And I'll just look at this right here. I'll just let that rice paper go in colors on a little spot. And then I'll put those colors together. There's my red. Here's my blue. Here's my yellow. And then I'll just kind of come in, mix those a little bit, a little more water, lighten them up, make them a little transparent, a little more transparent. And then this has so much fiber in it. And by the way, you can use this. Let me just tell you what you can use it for. It says it's chosen for covers on books, for collaging, for book binding, for card making. Ooh, ready for this? For lampshades. What do you mean lampshades? Yeah, watch this. I can take this now and just rip it off here. Let me get this off here because it's about 10 o'clock. It's time to quit. Is it just Monday? Oh, I just ripped the paper. So you don't want to take it off wet, but it won't matter because I kind of like it anyway. I want to show you something here if I can do this. Let's see if we can see this. This is looking through it. Look here. Let me see. Is there a way to do this? I don't think there's a way to do this. No, is there a way for you to see this? No, there's not. Shucks. All right, I'll figure out a way for you to see through this. But as you can see, now that's underneath, so that much went through. But that gives you an idea of this painting that I just did on rice paper. And look what it's still doing. This is where I used way too much water. So before you run out and buy some and say, oh, I can't wait to start with that, I just want you to know we had a fun time talking about it because it's not what I normally do. And then I might come back with my fountain pen and just have some fun sketching over the top of it. So if I'm working on roses, oh my gosh, if I'm a floral painter and I wanted to go in and do a series of rose petals and do those parts in the middle of a rose petal, then I can come back in and do some fun stuff with this and let it break up the lines because it just keeps going. So you look at that right there. So you can imagine what's happening when you're laying the water to this, and it's running out on its own. So lots of times Asian flower painters or floral painters will like a paper like this. All right, so this is the poundage on this is just a 6 MMU, and it's called who knows, Unuryu paper. I have no idea how to pronounce this, and why would I? I went to Bluegrass Elementary School. UNRYU, but you can get rice paper in sheets also that comes in big watercolor sheets. And but it's pretty tough. Once it dries again, it's going to be, once it's wet, it'll fall apart like Michelle's receipt paper. But when it dries, it's going to be pretty doggone stiff, and you're going to be able to peel it up with its tape without ripping it. But it's going to take it a while to dry. Okay, so all right, that's my story on rice paper, and I'm sticking to it. I wanted you to see it. I didn't want you to think that, oh, this is the greatest paper, run out and buy some tomorrow. So I didn't want to misrepresent that when we talked on Saturday with Phoebe Lee from Yasatoma, okay? Hey, thank you, and thanks to Cheap Joe's who does a great job of keeping me in some paper every now and then. I appreciate those guys so much. Ann said she ordered some, can't wait till it gets there. See, I love it. Anyway, the Roo has flowers in his hair. Don't you love that? See there? Just did a rose because you think of that as a rose painting. You just go, oh my gosh, what if I just did little circles like this, and I went in and did something like this, and then I dropped in some red in there, and I let that red go in and dry, and then put it in. And what if I painted a rose completely backwards from how roses are supposed to be painted? What if I did that? What if is part of that whole thing? Ta-da! There's no way you can get a regular normal piece of watercolor paper to do that with all the water and get the translucent look without just killing the water. And so anyway, just to give you a little something to play with and experiment with. So there's a Roo with a rose in his hair. Now, that's crazy, huh? All right. Anyway, learn something new every day. The fiber in it is fabulous, by the way. Let me just rip off a piece. I don't think I can get it closer to the camera for you to see, but there's maybe a piece right here. No, it's just not going to work on camera. But It's just fabulous how that fiber is in there. I'm going to give you one more little shot here. If I sweep across here with a brush with red and green in it, let's see if some of that will show up. Use the Christmas colors. There, that line that appeared right there, that red line, is where that paint went right into that fiber. So it goes that way. All right. Hey, thanks for being on the show. Thanks for checking out Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle. It's a great book for you to share people about their attitude about art. If you know a teacher that needs it for students, let them take those stories home and digest them. There's good stuff in those stories for all means of art and just people who need to celebrate other artists. If there are questions that I can answer, you know what to do. Always send me an email and be patient. I do get back to them, but I lead another crazy life of a media guy, and I'm finishing my scripts up today and trying to get that done so I can. I think I'm in the studio tomorrow. In the next 2 days, videotaping these, and they're going to come out on YouTube. All I can tell you right now is it's about leather jackets, and no, I don't get to keep them, but I think I get to wear them, and so I'm writing the stuff for that. All right. Okay, so I believe that's going to do it right there for me. If I see some questions in a little bit, I will jump back on here and do my best. Roo has flowers in his hair. Yeah. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. I can see a landscape would be fun. Yeah, if you're painting a crazy landscape, it would be fun. By the way, this is not the only type of rice paper. Some of it doesn't come in rolls. Some of it comes in sheets, and so you might want to start in on a less fibrous, more flat piece that gives you the ability to act a little more like watercolor until you turn it loose some other way. All right, I'm going to dress up the eye on this, put a little more black in there, and sign this big old Roo, and I'll throw him in the auction someday for 25 or 30 bucks plus postage. He's out of here if somebody needs a big Roo on their door. I was going to paint a Christmas painting this morning, but I wanted to catch up on the rice paper, so I'll do a Christmas one tomorrow. And Pat, yes. Dryer strokes are right, and I use it. Hold it in front of your face. All right. Wonderful show today. Hey, Linda, thank you so much. Y'all be blessed. I'm out of here. Let me turn that light off. Boom. Wait, almost forgot. Take a sip. Think of somebody you're going to encourage right now. You got it? Okay, now go do that.